Hello and welcome back to Stop and Go F1 for this, our preview video for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. My goodness, here we are again, the start of the final triple header of the year. We're going to get into all the latest news headlines. We're going to have a look at free practice. We have got possibly the biggest and best special helmet streets of the year, alongside a special livery cul-de-sac, and of course we're going to make our two predictions that we never ever get wrong. Before we get into that though, remember to like and subscribe, and of course a huge shout out to the members: Dakota, the Joyous Jane, Ron Myers, Cinnamon Strudel, Michael Johnson, Mr. Eurovision 1986, Philip Daganzik, Sarah Jowett, Andy Jones, and Facetious Badger. If you want to become a member, click the link in the description either on YouTube or on Patreon. Before we get into the news though, I want to address the elephant in the room. Yes, that is a Christmas tree. The Christmas tree is up. Now, some of you out there in the world may be feeling far too early for a Christmas tree. And you know what? I would tend to agree with you, if I'm being perfectly honest. I feel if you are offended by the sight of a Christmas tree right here on the 21st of November, I tend to agree with you. But I had to put the Christmas tree up because this week I've been recording some very special videos. You may remember this from last year if you were watching the channel. We did a Red Bull model car advent calendar. Well, this year, here it is, the McLaren model car advent calendar. I have recorded all of these this week, so I thought we'd best put the tree up to get into the Christmas atmosphere, the Christmas feeling. So that's why the tree's up. These model advent calendar videos will be coming out all the way through December, so keep an eye out for them. Also, what you may also notice, if you're a regular viewer of the Stop and Go F1 channel, there's a clock in the Christmas tree. And it is the Gotifi clock that says, Gotifi says, have a Merry Christmas on it. I bought it off Temu in that video. If you haven't watched that, go check that one out. It's a fun one. And in the best style a Nicholas Latifi clock could ever have, it's instantly broken. I think it works for the entire time I was recording the Advent Calendar video. As soon as that finished, it broke, and it has been stuck on 13 minutes to 10 ever since. And the weirdest thing is, it's not a battery thing. I don't know what's wrong with it, because I've changed it to the correct time. No matter what I do, as soon as it gets to 30 minutes to 10, it stops. So that will forever say 13 minutes to 10 on the Gotifi clock. With all of that addressed, so we actually talk about some news and stuff. Starting with gaming news. My goodness. I don't think I've ever done gaming news here on Stop and Go F1, but this is it. Big gaming news, everybody. Formula One's in Fortnite. This is the big news. I don't know why that's so zoomed in. There we go. Is that a bit better? I guess. Formula One in Fortnite. Now, you can play as all the teams. I have been on Fortnite today. I went on this morning, and I've played. I'm going to see if I can fix that. There we go. That's better. Don't know why that was so messed up. I've played this morning, and I have spent my real-life money on Formula One Fortnite. And let me tell you, I haven't played Fortnite in years. I played it a little bit when the Simpsons thing came out, last week or whenever that was. But before that, I had not played Fortnite in years. I played one game with the Formula One Fortnite, and I finished third. So what does that show you? Probably that my server is full of bots. But it could be that the Formula One Fortnite stuff makes you better at the game. Now, what I could also break down here for you as well, I thought what they were going to do is have each team as an individual skin to make as much money as possible. So if you want all 10 teams, you've got to buy 10 skins. They haven't done that. Instead, what they've done is quite weird. And as I say, I haven't played Fortnite in a long time, so I don't know if these people are regular Fortnite characters. But you can buy each of these people individually, and then each of these people can wear each of the team's overalls. So, you see this fella here, he's wearing the Red Bull one, but if you want to play specifically as him, but put him in a Haas overall, you can do that. But also, and this is what I did. I just bought the first one that was there. I think it was this fella. And I in the stylings options, you can choose to just have the helmet on. So you have no idea what their face looks like anyway, which is what I've done. There's also a pickaxe, which looks like a wheel and a rear wing, and there's a glider, which looks like the body of a car. I think there's also an emote, which is you riding on top of a car, which is pretty cool. I didn't buy that. I couldn't be bothered with that one. But yeah, this, I think, is pretty cool. I always like when there's an F1 crossover somewhere in the gaming world, if you will. Lewis Hamilton, of course, is already in Fortnite. And that was something I thought was quite interesting. They haven't chosen to go down the route of putting the drivers in the game. I imagine that might be more expensive to, selling the likeness of the drivers. But this, on its own, I think, very good. And also, great news for the fans of Stake F1 Team Kick Sauber, because they've only got 3 races left, and I'm sure all the millions of Stake F1 Team Kick Sauber fans out there were thinking, oh no, my favourite Formula 1 team, the Stake F1 Team Kick Sauber, they'll never make it into Fortnite. Well, they have. Congratulations. You now, forever, can play Fortnite as a Stake F1 Team Kick Sauber driver. What wonderful news for everyone involved. Other bit of gaming news. Mad, haven't spoken, there's like a bus, London bus. You wait for ages for gaming news. 2 big pieces of gaming news come out at once, because this time next year you'll be able to play as a Stake F1 Team Kick Sauber driver in Fortnite, but you won't be able to play F1 2016, because that game, not 2016, F1 2026, because that game will never exist. EA, who make the F1 games now, have come out this week and said that they will not be releasing a Formula 1 game next year. Instead, they will be releasing a paid DLC for F1 2025, which will have updated liveries for the teams. It'll have updated drivers if any new drivers come in. It'll have the Cadillac team, and it will also have something else that I can't remember. The new regulation cars will also be in it, so it won't just be the 25 cars with the 26 liveries on it. They will have a model of a 26 car in this paid DLC as well. Then a new Formula 1 game, a completely new game, will come out for 2027. So EA moving all their focus onto the 2027 game. It means for the first time since 2008, there will not be an official Formula 1 game coming out next year. As someone who does play a lot of games, and I've played, I think, every Codemasters / EA Formula 1 game, in a way I do think this is a good thing, because they're all the same. I've found myself, I buy it every year. The last one, I think I probably got 4 or 5 hours on, maybe, because, it's an F1 game. There's not much you can really add. And they did this whole thing this year where they put the F1 movie in, and I still haven't even bloody seen that movie. And they try and make Breaking Point a thing, but I think it's just crap. And yeah, I think the EA F1 games have reached a point of stagnation where maybe having this year off would be good, so that when it comes back in 27, you maybe miss it a bit more. And if they do something big and new, that could be interesting. But yeah, no 2026 game for Formula 1 next year. But focusing on this weekend briefly, I want to talk about F1 Academy. It's their big season finale this weekend. Dorian Pan versus Maya Vug for the title. We'll have all the coverage of that this weekend. I'm not entirely sure when this weekend, because with it being in Las Vegas and me being here in the UK, the broadcast times are mental. So I don't think I'll be watching the F1 Academy live, but I will have coverage of it as soon as I can, to be honest with you there. But yes, that'll be happening this weekend. More news surrounding that. We spoke last week on the Saturday news video about the McLaren Junior team. They dropped Badoa, they dropped Stenchon, they dropped Ugochukwu. They've introduced 2 new members of the McLaren Junior team this week, both of them called Ella. So Ella Stevens and Ella Hakkinen have both joined McLaren. So the McLaren junior team now includes 3 women, all of them called Ella. Ella Stevens will join Formula One Academy next year alongside Ella Lloyd. So McLaren will have 2 drivers in Formula One Academy. Ella Hakkinen is still in her karting career, only 14 years old, but McLaren will support her through that karting career, and she will probably be the next McLaren F1 Academy driver, maybe in, 2028? So yeah, McLaren heavily investing in their female talent, and best of luck to all the Ellas in the McLaren junior team. I saw somewhere saying McLaren now are the only team to have 2 F1 Academy drivers, which is technically true, which is the best kind of true, because of course since the start of F1, since season 2 of F1 Academy, which for a lot of people is season 1 of F1 Academy, Red Bull have had 2 drivers. It's just right now one of them is a Red Bull driver and one of them is a Red Bull Ford driver. So technically there's not 2 Red Bull drivers, but there is. So, people say McLaren are doing it. They've apparently got 2 female drivers. Red Bull have done it for years. But, some people don't want to say positive things about Red Bull. I will. They have put the most investment, I think, into F1 Academy so far out of any of the teams. But it's good to see McLaren following in their footsteps with 2 drivers and a 3rd in their junior ranks, all called Ella. Also with F1 Academy, massive mad news, a new team to join next year. Lego Racing. Lego now sponsor a team. They've even released already a Lego kit so you can build the car that they're going to have for next year, which is fantastic. They've also signed a driver in Esme Kosterman, who was the wildcard driver at her home race at the Dutch Grand Prix. Scored 7 points that weekend. I think she's the only wildcard driver to score points so far this year. So Lego have got behind her, a Dutch brand and a Dutch driver to hopefully do well next year. So Lego car coming next year. Fantastic stuff. But let's focus now on this weekend, because this weekend Max Verstappen can fall out of title contention. He is currently just 49 points behind championship leader Lando Norris. After this weekend, there will only be 58 points left to gain if you were to win both races and the sprint. So, if Lando Norris is to score more than 10 points than Max Verstappen this weekend, Max Verstappen can no longer become the 2025 World Champion. To put this into a bit of context, over the last 2 race weekends, Lando Norris has scored more than 10 points than Verstappen in both of them so far. And we'll talk more about it later in the free practice roundup. But so far, I have no idea how this weekend is going to go. So, this time last year, Verstappen was winning the title in Las Vegas. This time around in Las Vegas, he could be out of contention. So that is something to watch this weekend. Looking briefly forward to next weekend, though, it is the Qatar Grand Prix, and that's a sprint race as well. Pirelli have announced this week that there will be a maximum 25-lap limit per tyre set. Now, they did this last time out in Qatar because the heat was just incredible. Last time out, I think it was less than 25 laps. They have pushed the Qatar Grand Prix to later in the year this year to try and deal with the heat a little bit better. But they are still introducing this. I didn't like it last time. I don't like it this time. I understand the safety aspect of it, and I understand that they are doing this for all the best reasons possible to try and keep the drivers as safe as possible. But I don't like the idea of a lap limit per tyres, because for me, it just kind of throws strategy away. Because everyone knows when you're going to pit. Everyone knows that you're not going to go to lap 26 because you can't go to lap 26. So everyone knows, oh, well, he's got this many laps left, so he's going to pit then. So it just kind of, for me, ruins that element of the race. I think that the teams should be good enough to kind of deal with this themselves. I think Pirelli should come out and say, hey, look, the heat's bad, degradation is going to be high, this could be dangerous, make sure you pay attention to this, and if you go if you go too long on a tyre and it explodes, that's on you, we've warned you. and then the teams have to deal with that as they will. Because, this is what we want. Because right now, so the Qatar Grand Prix is 57 laps. There's a 25-lap limit now on tyres. So it's going to be minimum a 2-stop, which is what Formula 1 fans want. We want these multi-stop strategies in races. So to kind of have this imposed one on you, I don't think works as well. I want to see a driver trying to save their tyres. I want to see others go for some kind of zany free stop to see if they can get something to work. I think, of course, go out there and say, look, it's dangerous. Look, we think you should do this. But these teams are so good, they should be able to kind of run that themselves. That's my opinion. But we move on from that. 2, the statistical slip road, everybody. We're going to have a look back at last week's, not last week, 2 weeks ago, the Brazilian Grand Prix statistics and see how that lines everyone up in F1 history. Then look ahead to this weekend at Las Vegas and the records that are currently held there. So, of course, we start with Lando Norris, who won the race to take win number 11, puts him equal all-time with Rubens Barrichello, Felipe Massa, and Jacques Villeneuve. It was also podium number 43 for him, which puts him equal with Jackie Stewart all-time. The win in the sprint put him second all-time for sprint wins on 3. Only 10 behind Max Verstappen, who is in first place. Speaking of Verstappen, Verstappen is now on a streak of 7 podiums in a row. It's the 4th time in his career he has had 7 podiums in a row, and only Oscar Piastri has done better this season. He had 8 podiums in a row between the Chinese and Spanish Grand Prix, but Max Verstappen could equal that this weekend. This weekend, it is the 3rd Las Vegas Grand Prix. So, with there only being 2 previous races, there is not much history to go through, but I shall try my best nonetheless. Max Verstappen and George Russell hold the record for the most wins with 1 each. Charles Leclerc and George Russell hold the record for the most poles with 1 each. Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris hold the record for the most fastest laps with 1 each. Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc, Sergio Perez, Lewis Hamilton, George Russell and Carlos Sainz hold the record for the most podiums with 1 each. George Russell has the record for the most laps led here with 49, but it's Max Verstappen who holds the record for the most points with 35. 50% of the wins come from pole position, with 100% of wins coming from the front row. The lowest position to win from in the Las Vegas Grand Prix is second place by Max Verstappen in 2023. My goodness, there you go. Fantastic stuff. Also, as of this weekend, it will be a year since Lewis Hamilton has been on the podium, a statistic he will not want to have. Also this weekend, unbelievably, Lance Stroll equals the same amount of races as Nigel Mansell on 187. Pierre Gasly also equals the amount of races of Graham Hill on 174. Both George Russell and Lando Norris celebrate their 150th Grand Prix. Oscar Piastri equals the races of Zhou Guan Yu on 68. Liam Lawson equals the amount of races of the first ever Formula 1 world champion Giuseppe Farina. Isaac Hajar equals the races of Nikita Mazepin. And in the constructors' world, Haas equal the races of Force India on 212. And Aston Martin equal the races of BAR on 117. But perhaps the biggest statistic of the weekend is this. Lando Norris will become the joint first for most races for the McLaren team, equaling David Coulthard on 150. There we go. That is the statistic. Oh my goodness, it's all falling apart. That was I can't say it. That was the statistical slip road. We go now to special livery cul-de-sac, and it's a big one because it's Las Vegas, and people like to make a big effort at Las Vegas, and they certainly have this year. So, firstly, let's have a look at this, which is the special livery for the Sauber team this weekend. And as we can see, it is just the traditional Sauber that we have come to know and love for quite some time. But we can see this checkered flag. Motif. Would motif be the correct word? Motif is the word I'm going with. This checkered flag across the body of the car, and it really is to kind of just say goodbye, I guess, because we only have 3 races left. 3 races left of the Stake F1 Team Kick Sauber team, and, in the bigger picture, the Sauber team, which have been part of Formula 1 for so long now. So we're saying goodbye to both of those teams, in a way, by saying goodbye to one team. So the checkered flag there to celebrate the end of what has been a stalemate. I was going to say stalemate, right? A staple, I should say, is the correct word, of the Formula 1 grid for so long now. We also have, let's go to the Williams one first. So yeah, this is the Williams special livery, which is, it reminds me of the kind of liveries we used to see in like 2022, when everyone was trying to save weight and everything was just black. This, unlike those, is not carbon fibre. You can see it is paint. And, it looks pretty cool. I don't know why they've done this. It's probably something to do with AI, which I hate. But something I don't hate is this. This is one of the best special liveries I think we've ever seen. This should be I think the Racing Bulls car, for me, if you look at all like the standard edition versions of the liveries for each of the 10 teams, for me the Racing Bulls livery is the best this year. You may disagree, you're entitled to. But I think that was the best livery we had this year. This is even better. This should just be their normal livery. Would you call this pearlescent? Would that be the correct word to use? I'm calling it pearlescent. And the way that this car looks under the lights, when you're seeing it moving, it's incredible. It's a thing of beauty. Fantastic. 10 out of 10. No notes. Make this the livery all year next year, because that is something special from Racing Bulls. We move now, though, to Special Helmet Street, starting with Esteban Ocon. Now, we know Ocon's a huge Marvel fan, and we've seen so many times before Marvel-inspired helmets for Esteban Ocon. This is one of his best. The Spider-Man / Venom-inspired helmet here, half Venom, half Spider-Man, with the symbiote stuff going across. Really suits well with the colours of Haas as well. Really good stuff from Esteban Ocon. That's real great. This is Oscar Piastri's helmet this weekend, which is inspired by his times as a child racing remote control cars. This is the colours of his car that he used to have when he was a kid. So it is a meaningful one from Oscar. This is Lando's, though, for his 150th race. I believe it's been painted by a friend of his, and it looks incredible. This is amazing, the way that they've done this. Looks really good, looks really layered. There's also these little things, little paintings within the painting of members of the team and all that kind of stuff. But there's also, if we look like this one here, this is his first race win in Miami. I think there's also one for like the race he won in Silverstone and all that kind of stuff. So not only is it a beautiful helmet design, but it also has little things of his history with the McLaren team in there as well. So that's a great job from Lando Norris, but it is not helmet of the weekend, because that goes to this one from Lewis Hamilton, and this might not just be helmet of the weekend, it might be helmet of the year. This reminds me of like a classic Sebastian Vettel Singapore helmet. It's just gone way over the top in the best possible way. It looks amazing when you see it when he's driving in the car. Really, there aren't really many words to say about this, because you can just see it. The sparkly helmet. Great stuff. This is Yuki Tsunoda's helmet here, and this is like a little tribute to, I can't remember the correct word for it, but it's kind of like a pottery art form that I believe is popular in Japan, where if pottery is broken, when they fix it, instead of trying to hide the cracks, they paint the cracks with this gold paint to kind of emphasize it, and it shows the kind of the aging process, but how things can be not perfect but still work well and all that kind of stuff. It's quite a famous technique, and I think this works really well here, because it looks like a few different things put together. You have his kind of classic design, the Red Bull design. Then you have, what is this, maybe some clouds on there as well. And then this, I can't remember the name of the leaf, but the leaves that he's had for a lot of his career on his helmet designs on here as well. Kind of all glued together with this golden painted line of the cracks down the side. Really good, great stuff from Yuki Tsunoda. We go to George Russell now, who of course is also celebrating his 150th race this weekend, and this is to pay tribute to that, but also to the fact that he won here last year. So it's kind of this kind of black and gold thing. Looks really good. They showed it a bit in practice today, with the camera that is mounted behind the steering wheel, so you're looking directly at the face. And when you're seeing the front of this helmet, it reminded me so much of like Hamilton's black and purple designs that he used to have in the Mercedes. And when I was watching this morning in the early hours and briefly just like looking up at my tired eyes, I was like, oh, Hamilton's back in the Mercedes, but it wasn't. It was George Russell. Also, what you should notice is within the 63, there's lots of him doing his little T-pose, which is there. This is also on the back, so you got the card 63 Ace. There he is. Very good. This is Kimi Antonelli's this weekend, which is just more of a shiny version of what he has, with the base layer being more of a reflective silver colour, but still overall very good. Then finally we go to Charles Leclerc, who, not to be outdone by Lewis Hamilton, has also gone for a more shiny design with these kind of golden lines down the side, and then the Las Vegas, I'm going to say, motif again there for him. So overall, I think the best special helmet street we've ever had. Real good stuff from everyone involved. Let's go now to free practice roundup, and I have to say this is probably one of the more difficult free practice roundups we've ever done, because from both sessions we've really learned nothing. So if we look at FP1 firstly, now FP1 is probably the better to go off of for maybe our order, but realistically at the exact same time, no competitive session will take part at the time that FP1 took part. So how representative is it? Who's to know? But when you compare it to what happened in FP2, well, we'll get to that in a bit, maybe this does help us guide a little bit more. So, Charles Leclerc topped the times with a 1:34.8. Then it was Alexander Albon, about 10th and a half off. Yuki Tsunoda in a surprise P3 with Max Verstappen in a surprise P4. Then Carlos Sainz in P5. I shouldn't say Verstappen was a surprise there. It was a surprise that Tsunoda was ahead, is what I should have said there. But overall, some competitive times here. What was more surprising from FP1 was that McLaren weren't necessarily on it. And that has been a question that a lot of people have had leading up to this race. This is kind of pointed at the one where people said, well, that's the one McLaren are going to perform poorly, because based off of the last couple of races we've had here, this is the one where they perform poorly. And we've seen quite a bit this year. They don't necessarily like the straight line speed tracks, such as, Imola they did well, but Verstappen was better. Baku, they did not do well at all. Canada as well, another one where they performed badly. And they're all tracks where there are long straights. And of course, Las Vegas is an upside-down pig made of long straights. So what we saw here, eventually Lando did finish 6th, Oscar finished 8th, but for a lot of the session they were a bit lower. They did come back up though. Hajar was 7th with Russell in 9th, and Antonelli completed the top 10. Lewis Hamilton was up there for the majority of the session, but then just towards the end, as everyone went for more soft runs, he did fall down, but I don't think that's truly representative of where he was. Then we have on the Alpine, both Aston Martins, the Hasses, the Saubers, and Franco Colapinto down at the bottom. So maybe this does show us a better idea of what we're going to have this weekend. Ferrari have got pace, Red Bull have got pace, Williams have got pace, and I think McLaren are there, but aren't as dominant as they have been at other tracks. We go to FP2 though, and as we can see, Lando Norris did top this session, but this session was a mess due to our good old friends, the Las Vegas manhole covers. So we saw this destroy a Ferrari not too long ago, and they're back with a vengeance because one popped up, and I think it was about halfway through FP2, caused a red flag which lasted quite some time. Then that red flag ended, the cars went back on track, then there was a second red flag, and I believe it was for the manhole issue again. So what we see here is a leaderboard which is quite a mess. So we've got Norris and Antonelli in the top two positions. Antonelli is 0.02 off the back of Lando Norris. Then we got Leclerc, who was on the medium tyres. You can't see that because my head's in the way, but there you go, medium tyres. We can see Russell in 7th was on mediums. Verstappen in 9th was mediums. Hamilton in 10th. Gasly, Sainz, Piastri, Tsunoda, Colapinto, Behrman, Ocon, they were all had their fastest time of the session on the medium tyres. What this also meant is just basically their practice running was just completely disturbed. I think that's a good thing for the race. As long as a manhole cover doesn't pop up in the race, it's a good thing because it means that the teams go into the race with less understanding and less knowledge of, what their run plan's going to be or what their race strategy is going to be. It puts them on the back foot, which I think makes for a more entertaining race. But yeah, these times I wouldn't really read them and go, oh, well, look, Nico Hülkenberg's in 4th. That means that Sauber are going to do incredibly well. It's hard to read, I don't think Verstappen is down in 9th, half second off, That's what I'm saying here. Especially towards the end of that session where it's like, I don't think anyone got a lap in between the two red flags. Charles Leclerc, I think, had a gearbox issue, pulled over to the side of the track, and still finished 3rd. So I think that goes to show what was happening here. Very, very difficult to read who's where at the minute. But, like I said, I think that means that we're in for a more entertaining race when the race comes around on Sunday morning, as it will be here in the UK. But let's move from that now and try and do some predictions. My first prediction is I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to go for a Max Verstappen win because right now he needs it if he wants to stay in contention for the title, and I think it'd be quite fun to just keep on having him there. There's so many times people have counted about this year, but just keep on having him in there all the time, and maybe he gets to Abu Dhabi and he's like 25 points behind, and it's completely out of consideration. It's not going to happen, and then something mad happens and he wins the title. Let's keep the dream alive. Why not? Even if the dream is so small at this point. But yeah, I'm going for a Verstappen victory. My second prediction is I think at least one of the McLarens is not finishing this race. I have no idea who it's going to be. Could be both of them. Lando had some brief run-ins with the walls in FP2. McLaren, there was an interview with Zach Brown during FP2, I believe it was, where they don't sound too confident on their setup. They don't know which rear wing to run. They had one in FP1, which I think was one they'd been cutting into. In FP2, they went to their Monza wing, and it sounds like they're not too confident which one's the right one. It's the most on the back foot McLaren have been since Baku, and we all know what happened there. So I'm saying at least one of the McLarens does not finish this race. Max Verstappen takes the win. We shall wait and see. Can Max Verstappen keep himself in title contention at least for another week? I think he can. We shall wait and see though. And of course, I'll be here to cover all of it with you. It's going to be super early in the morning for me. It's going to suck, but I'm going to be here for you, the people. Until then though, have a good one. I shall see you later. Goodbye.